Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk about solving one-step inequalities. And if you remember, an inequality is a mathematical statement that doesn't have an equal sign. It has a less than, greater than, or less than, equal to, greater than, or equal to symbol in it. So you solve an inequality the same way you would solve an equation, and then you graph it. So let's look at some simple addition and subtraction ones. So we've got n plus negative 8 is greater than or equal to negative 19. So you know that we're going to add 8 to both sides. So that's going to leave us with n is greater than or equal to, remember when you have different signs, you subtract and keep the sign of the larger. So negative 19 plus 8 is going to leave us with negative 11. So we have n is greater than negative 11. So if we were graphing this, do negative 13, negative 12, negative 11, negative 10, negative 9. This is greater than or equal to, so we're going to use a closed dot right here at negative 11. And I'm going to shade in everything greater than negative 11. And in this case, it's actually pointing which way we're going to go. So we're going to shade in everything greater than negative 11. Okay, so let's look at example 2. Take off my thing here. Alright, so I have t minus negative 6 is greater than 44. So minus and negative, use same switch change, so this becomes plus positive 6 is greater than 44. So now I'm ready to solve this. So I just have t plus 6, so we're going to subtract 6 on this side, subtract 6 on this side. I'm going to have t is greater than 44. Not 44. I forgot to subtract. 44 minus 6 gives us 38. So I have t is greater than 38. So if I'm going to graph this, I'll do, whoops, no negatives, 36, 37, 38, 39. And this time, since it's just the greater than, no equal to, I'm going to open dot at 38. And again, everything greater than 38. Okay, so let's come down here. Now this time my answer is over here and my inequality is on this side, but that's okay. I have an addition problem, so I'm going to solve it by subtracting. Okay, so this, I end up with y here. Negative 26 minus 14, same switch change. So I'm going to end up with a negative 40. So I have negative 40 is greater than y. Or if I wanted to turn it around, I end up with y is less than negative 40. So when I go to graph this, negative 38, negative 39, negative 40, whoops, negative 41, negative 42, open circle at the 40, and this time I'm shading in everything that's less than 40 because my answer is y is less than 40. Okay, let's do one more example and then we're going to look at some multiplication and division problems. Okay, so I have negative 80 plus k. Since this is negative, I want to add 80 and add 80. So 486 plus 80 is going to give me, whoops, 6 right here. 8 plus 8 gives me 16. So 566 is less than or equal to k. So this time my number line needs some pretty big numbers. So 568, 69, whoops, let's see, which way am I going? K is greater than that, 69. Let's start over. We'll do 565, 566, 567, 568, and if I wrote this the other way, I would do k is greater than or equal to 566. So k is greater than this, so I would put a closed circle at 566 and shade in everything going this way. Alright, so there's some examples of addition and subtraction problems using inequalities. What if I have multiplication and division? Well, you still solve it pretty much the same way as when you have an equation. But there's one more thing. When you multiply or divide by a negative number, meaning when the part that's with the variable is negative, you have to flip the greater than or less than sign. So what do I mean by flip? So let's work some and look at it. And I've got a whole bunch of these. And although you will need to graph your answer, we're not going to do that on our problems here. So look at this first one. We have 8x goes into 112. So if we divide both sides by 8, okay, this time the negative is not with the number that I'm dividing by, so I do not have to flip. X is equal to, let's see, 8 goes into 112, how many times? 8 into 112, 1 minus 8, it's going to be 14. So, and it's going to be negative 14 because there was a negative here. Remember, a 1 positive and 1 negative gives you a negative answer. So this just stays x is greater than negative 14. Okay, looking at this one. Again, it's division, but there is no negative in this. So my answer just becomes 7 is greater than m. Okay, then we get to number 3. This time I am dividing by a negative 9. Okay, what does our rule say? If you're dividing by a negative number, you have to flip your sign. So my answer is going to become t. I'm going to flip this over. Is greater than negative 4. If you multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to flip this. Okay, so what about here? This is a division problem. I'm going to multiply by a negative 4. So what am I going to do? I'm going to flip my sign. Multiply by a negative 4 on both sides. So this is going to become m is less than or equal to negative 48. I flipped my sign. Look here. This negative on this side, I'm going to have to flip. Because even though it's up here, it applies to anything. So I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 14. I can't do that one in my head. Shame on me. 3 times 4 is 12. 1 times 3 is 3 plus 1, 42. So this becomes r. Flip your sign. 182. Negative 182, because a positive times a negative. Alright, same thing here. You can rewrite the negative with your number at the bottom, because wherever it is, it can be rewritten wherever. So we're multiplying both sides by negative 4. What do we do when we multiply or divide by a negative? Flip the sign. You flip the sign because it is changing the value of your answer due to the negative. So this becomes t, flip it over, is less than 28, negative 28. Okay, so what you need to remember from this video is that you solve one-step inequalities the same way we solved one-step equations. The big difference is that if you multiply or divide by a negative, you're going to flip the sign. You're going to hear me say this in multiple videos over the next few days. But that is the most important thing about inequalities. If you forget to flip that sign, your answer is going to be wrong every time. Now, I think there's a few more problems in your notes. Please work those, and we'll talk about them in class tomorrow.